What you're looking at here is Cinema 4D 11.5, which is the new version of Cinema 4D. It has a number of new features, and most of them are in dynamics and rendering. So I'm going to show you how this new stuff works, and we're going to start off by doing a dynamic simulation. Up until now, you've basically had a couple options for doing dynamic simulations. One of the things you could do is do it as a particle simulation, inside thinking particles. The other option you had was using the dynamics module, but now there's a dynamic solver, actually rigid body solver, in the new MoGraph module. And that's what we're going to look at right now. The way it works is it's a rigid body solver. And that means that it's good at solving things like concrete or billiard balls or dice. Anything without any flex to it is really what a rigid body solver is meant to deal with. So in this scene, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a number of spheres fall and land on this landscape object here. What that means is that landscape object in this simulation is going to be a collision object. And in the new system, the way I create that collision object is by adding a tag. That tag is under MoGraph tags rigid body. So what you see now is there's a tag attached to the landscape. And that tag is not a dynamic tag, meaning that, or is not an indicator of a dynamic object. What that means is that this isn't going to be affected by any forces in the scene. If I have gravity in the scene or I have wind or something like that, it's not going to push around this object. It's going to stay static. But what I want is for this sphere to be able to collide with this object. In the new system, objects that are dynamic objects have to be cloned. So if I want this sphere to collide, fall and collide with this landscape object, I have to make it a child of a cloner object. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So now I have a cloner object of 3 spheres. I'll spread them out a bit, and well, let's just start. I'll add this to it. So if I add another MoGraph tag, what you're going to see is, all right, I have a rigid body tag here, I have a rigid body tag here. I'll move this up so I don't have to keep opening this. You can see they're different tags, and visually that tells me that, okay, this one is a dynamic object, this one is a static object. Really all I need to do now, if I want to run the simulation, is hit the play button, and off it goes. You can see that the spheres drop and they collide with the collision object, they bounce around off the surface, everything is good. One of the things that's good about this, other than the simple setup, is the fact that you can deal with a pretty good number of objects. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having this cloner object be a linear object with only 3 spheres, I'm going to change this to a grid array. And now I have, what is that, 36 spheres that are going to be colliding with this landscape object. I don't have to change anything else. If I hit play again, they're all going to fall, and you can see, we've experienced a bit of a lag in the playback speed, but this is playing on a laptop, so it's not exactly the fastest thing ever, and still the playback is pretty good. I can rotate the camera, I can still see things bouncing around, things are behaving pretty well. The actual simulation is consistent, and even if I want to, what I can do is start moving this landscape around and push these objects around in the viewport while the simulation is playing. Alright, let's reset this. So as far as setting up simulations, rigid body simulations in the new system, that's pretty much it. There are some features for creating triggering events and stuff like that, but quite honestly, what I would have liked to have seen is that that the system was integrated into something like Thinking Particles, where we could use Espresso, where we could use thinking particles, groups, and events to actually trigger new actions. I think it would have been much more flexible. I think it's a better choice overall. I think, with the way it is right now, it's very fast. It's got a lot of potential, and it's really easy to set up. But I think that unlocking the real creative opportunities requires that it be more integrated into a broader system. So hopefully that's what's going to come in the future.